Hi everyone.
Hello.
Today we are here with our live photo talk talking about how to be more artistic in your photography and how to connect to that deep creative spirit that we all have to create more unique and compelling and interesting images.
Or if you just want to be different than everybody else.
I am Diana Bird.
I'm Anthony Epps,
I'm a writer,
and I'm a photographer.
and together we run photography workshops and courses online and all over the world.
Yes, we do.
So let's get started. I wanted to start with a quote. I'm a bit of a mania for quotes. And I found this wonderful quote from the writer Neil Gaiman, who said, "The world is always seems brighter when you've just made something that wasn't there before." And I think that's so incredible because it connects us to the sensation and the feeling of creation and why we do it and what it brings into our life. It's not just about the end result of the photo or the story, but it's the feeling that it gives us. So we have a bunch of great tips for you today, and the first is hello. Do you say hi when you come on and tell us where you're calling from?
Sorry, playing with my phone.
So our first tip today is don't follow or shoot for the crowd.
Yes. I asked Di to put this in there because I think this is really applying to social media and how we feel like we must post stuff to get likes, and we want to get approval of our peers and people we don't know to make us feel better about our photography. And that's all fine and dandy, but after you start to do it for a while and you don't get those consistent likes, you start to realize that from the beginning you should not be shooting for other people. You should be shooting for yourself, from your heart, because that's the only way it's authentic, right? I mean, my Instagram history is very spotty. I started and I post my favorite 50 pictures from the last 5 years, and they didn't get the results I wanted. And then I was like, guys, you've got to post Instagram every day, and I'm like, but I don't have the images to post every day. She's like, of course you do. You've been shooting for so long, but me being the artist, I just felt like it was a bit. I don't want to say high pressure because it just seemed like a bit inauthentic.
I think you can also get so kind of entranced by what people are liking and what people aren't liking that it affects how you shoot.
What you decide to shoot, yeah.
What you decide to shoot. And I know from our little team, we have a few different people that we work with that we show Anthony's images to. And everyone often likes different things. I mean, there might be a few images that everyone gets behind and loves, but there are some things that are just so personal. There are images that I have seen of Anthony's that I think are, dreadful maybe is a bit of a strong word, but I just don't like. They just don't invoke anything for me. And so it is a personal experience. It is something that is just about you, and you have to, it's nice to get feedback, but you are on your own journey and you are creating things that are meaningful for yourself. And so you have to, I think, at some point ignore what other people are saying about your images, including when people say
dreadful.
They're dreadful.
Yes, I'm going to ignore that. She's lying anyway. I never take dreadful pictures. But that reminds me of
good morning, Yvonne from Frosty Santiago.
Frosty,
wow,
yeah, it's like winter on that side of the world, isn't it?
Hello, Claudia.
What was I gonna say? It reminds me of like a professional artist, right? If you're a career artist and you go out and you're creating your work, you're doing things from your heart and you're producing great work, but then you have someone else help you select or build your project, right? But when it comes to the curation of it, there's usually someone else to aid you in that process. But at the actual creation process, that's all you. You know, nobody comes in and tells you what to do or what to shoot. It's just when it comes to curating that you might want a little help from somebody else saying, what am I trying to say with what I've done? Or, you know, this one or that one kind of thing.
Yeah. Or a photo that you might, we've talked about this before, but a photo you might love because you've taken it and it connects to a very special moment in your life, or you're having a great time, or you're in a beautiful place, and you take a photo, and when you look at that photo you attach the emotion that you felt when you took that photo, but it might just be a very ordinary photo, and sometimes it is good for people to come along and say, okay, that's not as good as you think it is.
These dreadful photos that she's talking about that I take, she doesn't really mean it, but you know, those are the ones I go like, how can you not like that photo? But I realize that I'm attached to it because I was there, I had heightened emotions when I took it, and I knew that's the one I was thinking about when I was, you know, trekking back home. That's the first one I wanted to see. But people...
So that links in very nicely to the next point, which is
Right.
Shoot from the heart, not from the mind.
Yes. But edit from the mind and not the heart. I know that's confusing, but
Tell
it's
us
true.
about shooting from the heart.
Shooting from the heart. That's one of the hardest things to explain. You just go around and, well, I suppose when you're shooting from the heart, right? What's the quote from about the vision? What's that one that?
Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. Jonathan Swift.
Vision is the art of seeing what is invisible to others. I think when you're being true to yourself, and you're being true to your heart, and you're being guided by your heart, when you take those photographs that no one else sees, that's the artistic approach, right? And it's most likely the approach when you're shooting from your heart, when you're using your emotions to guide you to your subject matter and to press the shutter, right? I think that's the key, really. I could extrapolate that a little bit more, but we should probably go on to the next one. I'll just ramble.
Getting it. Well, this links in to the same principle. Getting in touch with who you are and how you see the world.
Am I supposed to say something? I was just thinking I should have brought a pillow too. I sit up here like this. No? Okay, say that again.
Getting in touch with who you are and how you see the world.
Yeah.
I mean, this is reinforcing all of those elements of authenticity and being yourself and finding the things that excite you and trusting yourself on your journey as a creative person, as a photographer, and not being swayed by what other people are doing. You know, we are all on our own personal journey as creative people.
Yeah. Go on. You want to roll?
Our fifth point is all about observation.
And?
You're going to talk about observation.
Oh, I'm going to talk about observation?
Yeah.
I suppose when you're in the zone, as you know, the industry likes to call it, I like to think of it more as being present, or you know, being in the moment. That more relates to how I operate, which I didn't realize until Di pointed out to me about a decade ago.
That you're very in the moment person.
Yeah.
Anthony, we've got to get a train. I've just
No,
seen this amazing piece of light.
Booking tickets.
Look at this light, Di. I can't move away from the light.
Yeah.
Observation.
Observation, right.
And I think observation is an amazing idea, because we think that we observe things.
It is a skill. It is.
But it is.
It is something you develop over time and with practice. You know,
if you're 5 years old, you are observing the world.
Yeah.
If you are 41, like I am, you're often completely stuck in thinking and doing mode, and you know, should I be buying this type of material? And
well, that's a good point, because children, they don't have any biases, they don't have any blinders on. Their world is very small, but it is very well observed, and it's when you get older, you just start, I'm not dealing with that anymore. So you put a blinder on it, and you just don't notice that anymore, and that becomes habit, becomes part of personality. So one of the skills of observation is to start to, increase your perspective by maybe thinking like a child or just emulating children. They really just, they're creative all the time. And as the more you observe, I think the more opportunities for creativity come to you.
It's opening up your awareness, isn't it? And
it really is.
Unblocking yourself. I mean, I am thinking about this quite often because we are. I realise how, almost every minute of the day, my mind is overtaken by what have I got to do. Where are the children? What are we, what emails are we writing today? I mean, it's a constant flow of activity in my head.
Yeah.
And it doesn't, sometimes it's important, but the amount of repetition is ridiculous. So when I have, had enough kind of doing thoughts, I do try to disconnect from that aspect of my mind and just be aware of what's going on around me and just be observing. And I think for people who often feel that they're not very creative, it's a wonderful affirmation to remember that as a child you were. As a child you were an observer. As a child you were able to connect to the physical world and see things that other people didn't see. And so if you've had that skill before, you can have that skill again.
And one thing that, another thing about children and their creativity and observational abilities is they work without fear. They're not afraid of looking foolish. They're not afraid of saying the wrong thing or looking at the wrong place or taking the wrong action. They haven't dealt with a lifetime of consequences, I think, and so they're very open to their imagination. And I talk about That's lesson 2. Lesson 1 and lesson 2 of my Art of the Image course are, the first one is lesson 1 is like, what is presence, how to be present. And the lesson 2 is imagination and emotion. And I start with those because it's just so critical for you as a creative individual to understand the impact that it will have on your photography and your creativity and just your life in general,
Yeah. Yvonne says, I recently did a course on mindfulness and I feel it really helped me in my photography by getting me to focus on being in the moment.
Was that my course?
So totally agree. It's I mean, both of us, Auntie and I, we both meditate and we've both done mindfulness kind of training. I think I needed it a lot more than Anthony because I was my mind was very, very busy. And it's something that you have to sometimes relearn because we're so kind of geared towards doing, organizing, fixing, working things out. So being present is one of the most fantastic, and being mindful is one of the most fantastic things you can do to bring to your creativity. And Yvonne also says great point about fear and how it impacts creativity.
Yeah.
And I think I had, when I was younger, I had a great fear that I wasn't very sophisticated artistically, and I didn't really know what I liked and what I should like. And to be honest, I love things that are coloured blue, paintings and photographs. Blue is a very wonderful, evocative colour, but it didn't sound very sophisticated. And that was a fear that I had about what I liked. But also, I think we have to lose those fears and not take them seriously. Children don't take those types of fears seriously. They just get on with things and they just say, look at this fantastic piece of material that I found. It's fascinating.
So once you push past this goes back to our talk on comfort zones. Once you push past the fear, you're in the creative zone, And then past that is the growth zone, right? And what's after that?
The learning zone.
The learning zone, right.
We posted an image about the 4 stages of growth and your comfort zone.
Yeah, look forward on our page. It's really quite profound. That I wish I had seen that before we did the talk, but it was a good appendage to it.
Yeah.
Appendix.
If you've just joined, we're talking about how to be more artistic in your photography. Please
Hi, Neem.
say hello. Hello, Neem. We can see you.
Good to see you.
This is one of my favorite points.
Is that the? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Be in awe, and this is something that Anthony has taught me. But at first, I'm going to give you a little quote.
I'm going to stretch my legs.
Instructions for living: pay attention, be in awe, tell about it. And that's Mary Oliver, who's our current favorite poet. That we
had a lot of Mary Oliver in the house this week.
Gorgeous.
Yeah, last couple of weeks.
And I think it's another skill that often children have about being in awe and being in a state of excitement that sometimes we lose as adults, but is such an important part of being creative.
I say more than sometimes. I think if you don't willfully try to hold on to that, you're going to lose it. The world's going to take it away from you, and you're going to get to a point in your life where you feel stuck, you feel locked inside your body and your mind, and just itching to break loose, and you don't even know why or which direction to go. It happens to us all.
And often we don't
didn't happen to me because I never grew up.
We don't experience that feeling of awe until we go on holiday or we go somewhere new or we have a new experience.
Yeah.
And that's the natural time you go to a new place. I mean,
that might be why people travel. I mean, they want to be overawed. They want to be in wonder of their environment.
And we get immune, don't we? To we're living in a place that I can only describe as paradise. We're living in
pretty close
town in southern Spain,
and it's not 45 degrees today.
Absolutely gorgeous. And we're surrounded by wonderful hills, and we're near the Sierra Nevadas. But it's funny that when we come here, because we travel quite a bit, when we come here the first couple of weeks, it's just so, we're just in awe every single day. Look at how gorgeous the sea is. Look at the hills. Look at the mountains. And then after a while, you become immune to it. And sometimes I want to kind of smack myself in the face because I think, oh my God, I've just become immune to this gorgeousness all around me. So it is about making an effort every single day to find something that impresses you. It's not necessarily new things, but find that excitement. Forget about all the things you've got to do and find something fascinating.
Find that
makes you go,
fascination
wow.
In your own backyard as a photographer. You don't have to travel to the other side of the planet to find awe and wonder. You can find it in your current environs. You just have to open yourself up to the opportunity, to let it come to you. I know that sounds kind of like airy-fairy, but
it is a decision. It is a decision you make.
Yeah.
To not become immune to your environment. To say, I want to be fascinated. I want to be excited. I want to see something interesting today.
One of the best photo challenges, if you're stuck with your creativity, right, and you're not about to go on holiday around the world to find it, one of the best photo challenges or assignments I can give somebody is take one photograph a day, right? Just go out in your backyard or walk down your street or whatever and take one photograph a day, 1 to 3. One's brutal. That's really brutal. 1 to 3 photographs a day, right? But what that does is it forces you to observe, right? I don't care what your pictures are going to look like. It's forcing you to really, really look deeply into your environment and analyze and just try to do something that's not very obvious, right? And then once you get to that surface, you might start to start applying emotions to those observations, and you could get some good shots like that. And it just makes you think, and it makes you slow down and it really, really, really makes you present. You know, it's a good assignment. If you could do one photo a day for 10 days and see how that works for you.
Because you're also, you know, exhausting the environment to find something interesting. So you're really actively looking. You're not just being passive and saying, I'm just going to wait for something wonderful to cross my path.
Yeah,
you're going out and looking and searching and finding it.
Yeah, it's like, for example, you see your garden every day, right? And you stopped taking pictures of your garden years ago, right? But then you get this assignment and say, you know what, I can't leave the house today, I got to go out in my garden. How are you going to look at your garden? You could just say, look at it, have you looked at it for the last several years, right? And see the whole thing. Or you can look at a piece of it, you know, and think, wow, what's in this 1 foot square of grass and flowers? You know, and that's a completely different observation. There's a whole world of things happening in your you know, this garden that you've taken for granted. And there's opportunities for creativity and good shots in there. You just have to skew your perspective a little bit, right? Open up what's possible, what you think is possible in that location, and that stuff will start coming to you, and you'll be fascinated with what you can come up with.
It's interesting, actually. It reminds me of, there's a couple of photographers that we've looked at who have all taken pictures within, you know, 100 square meters of their home. Saul Reiter was one of them, and he just photographed like the block around his neighborhood in New York. And there's an Irish photographer, Eamon Holmes, I think, who photographed people on kind of by his doorstep over several months. And I think that's such a fascinating thing to do, because it kind of forces you to be in one location and keep finding something every day, finding something interesting every single day.
And you're also building a narrative,
yes.
You know?
Yeah.
That's really important.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you need to get a little bit bored in order to pass through into new ideas.
Yeah.
I find that with my own practice, that if I'm constantly being stimulated, it's easy to create. But then if I get bored, I want to abandon it and go on to something new. But if I just push through that boredom, there is a wealth of new interesting ideas beyond that. And often it's those ideas that are more unique and more interesting than what I had come up with before.
So let's summarize now.
We have one more point, which I love. Photography is all about feeling. And we have a lovely quote from Don McCullen. Photography is a case of keeping all the pores of the skin open, as well as the eyes. It's not just seeing, it's feeling. And I love that visual kind of idea of the pores being open, because it's a very sensory experience. It's not just about what you see with your eyes. It's the feeling that you get when you're walking around. It's the emotions that you experience as you're looking at your subject, and it's allowing all of your senses to open up, so that, you know, our senses are very, very intelligent, and they give us information all the time, and we rely on our eyes and our, you know, very heavily as photographers. But it's also about what you hear and what you smell and what you can feel, the weather, and that will lead you and guide you to new and interesting subjects.
It's funny about all the senses, because a lot of time, like I'm shooting, you know, I shoot with my eyes, but I let sound guide me sometimes. I'll hear something interesting, or a rustle in the bush, or, you know, the wind decides to, and then smells, you know, sometimes smells can be very inspirational. You know, the what's that smell when the first rain? There's a word for it.
Oh my gosh!
There's a really good word for that smell after.
Petrichor.
Petrichor.
It's the smell of.
Petrichor.
It's the smell of the earth after, when it's been very dry, and and then it rains, and all the oils from the earth are released, and you feel that you smell that kind of damp.
Yeah,
woody,
you know the smell. I think it's petrichor. And I mean, if I'm out and I'm shooting that, because I love shooting like before or after a storm. I mean, that sense, my olfactory senses that they inspire me to shoot longer, that gives me energy to go out, because it just feels so good to be out, and that kind of earthly energy. It's just really great, and then my ears are guiding me to places. Like if I hear a noise down there, I say, go investigate, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a very good point about the senses, that if you are having trouble getting into the present moment, if your mind's always running away with all the things you've got to do, or arguments that you need to have with your spouse or things like that, coming into your body and listening and smelling and sensing what's around you and concentrating on your other senses is an amazing way to bring yourself into the present moment, so that you're not running away with the train of thoughts that you have. So relying on your senses as a photographer will bring you into yourself, so that you can observe and see and sense more of the world around you.
So I think, to summarize, it's think less and feel more when you're shooting. There's a lot of other things you need to do, but that's the core of it when you're out.
Think less, feel more, and be yourself.
Yeah.
Be proud of what you are and the experiences that you have had and the things that fascinate you, because what fascinates you is completely different to what fascinates me, what fascinates Anthony. Anthony has a fascination for octopus that I don't have, and it's very interesting. It's great
Amazing
to hear
creature.
about people and what they're fascinated by. It's great to share that passion of fascination through our creativity. I think those are all of our points.
Yes, we've run over time now.
Does anybody have any questions?
Well, type your questions while we summarize here, or wrap it up, or what do we do now, Di?
I think we have summarized.
Yeah, I think we summarize.
Yeah.
I want us, a lot of things we talk about in these live casts are a lot of what I have in my Art of the Image course. Being present, using your imagination when you're going out and shooting, things like that. Well, I mean, those are the things, the first two lessons in that course, because they are the most important, the most salient to know about as a creative, if you want to be artistic in your photography, not just go out and take snapshots, then you need to get in touch with yourself. And I want people to understand that.
And that's really the first step, because even though we are advocates for learning your camera and learning technical skills, those are all fantastic things.
Those are for spontaneity.
Yeah, to release your
technical skills are for spontaneity.
Freedom.
But if you don't have those first, the awareness of your imagination and your presence and your ability to observe, then all that technical knowledge means nothing. I've had lots of people on my workshop who have got all the technical skill, all the cool cameras, but they plateaued, and they come on my workshops and they're like, yeah, I'm just keep taking the same type of picture over and over again, and it's really, really nice pictures, but they're not growing, and they,
and it's about having,
and it's frustrating when you don't grow. You could see yourself not growing, and my belief is it's because you haven't used your imagination, you're not being present, and you haven't got in touch with your fears.
And if you would like to get in touch more and go on an epic creative journey with your photography, with Anthony
and me, don't forget me.
We are doing an amazing photography retreat in the south of France at the end of August, where you will learn the technical skills that you need to release your creative freedom. But we will really be emphasizing the journey of you as an artist, as a creative being, and marrying those two elements together of creative skills, the artistic journey, and the technical skills that you need to meet and realize your vision. So we'll be doing that at the end of August. If you would like information about it, please message us. It's going to be a fantastic 6-day experience in the beautiful town of Arles.
And if you wanted to know more about my Art of the Image course, just I think we'll
learning at home.
Learning at home, yeah.
Learning all of these skills and many more.
It's 12 hours of everything.
8 hours.
8 hours?
12 weeks, 8 hours.
Yeah. 8 months to make. Yeah, it's good.
Because everything we do, we want to help you as a creative person, somebody who has a burning passion to make things, to experience the world in a creative, interesting way, and to show the things that you see. And everything we do is all about helping you meet and release your creative vision.
Everybody deserves to see your creative vision. Yeah? I mean, you're worth it. You've got a lot to offer. You've just got to get in touch. And that way you can be original and be at your most creative. Yeah? Okay.
Thank you so much for watching. Any questions, just pop them in the comments and we'll put the links to our workshops as well.
And we'll be back on...
We will be back on Wednesday.
On Wednesday.
We are going to move house and then we will be back on Wednesday.
Yeah, we'll have a completely new view.
Have a great Sunday.
Thanks
Bye.
for watching, everybody. Bye-bye.